Hi, welcome to Strategy, Leadership, and Impact with your host, Blake Repine. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Blake Repine, and I'm glad you're here. This week, what I want to talk about is the difference between using your influence as a leader and using your authority as a leader. And a couple episodes ago, I mentioned trying to use your influence to get people to do things versus using your authority to get people to do things. And it goes far beyond that. And someone actually asked me, can we do a deeper dive into the difference between the two? And basically, how can we differentiate the two, and when should we use both together or separately? And first things, going back, I guess, episode 38 of the podcast, I did an episode called Commitment versus Compliance. And you can think about them the same way. So using your influence, you get people's commitment. Using your authority, you get people's compliance. But first, let's take a step back and let's look at authority. So every position in an organization or group has a certain level of authority that comes with it. And with that level of authority, it depends on your ability to approve things, for example, whether it be budgets or contracts or projects, things like that. So you have everything within your limits of authority, which is why we have a delegation of authority within organizations. We can delegate our authority down to other people. And with the authority, though, if you think about it, it's maintaining that compliance, it's maintaining processes. And if you have a command and control structure within an organization, you'll actually see people exercise authority more there than you might influence. And sometimes authority gives us the ability to get things done very quickly. If you think about soldiers, for example, and whoever's in charge actually giving an order and people following that order and executing immediately. Same thing in emergency situations, your emergency services, your firefighters, your police officers, even your paramedics. They need a certain level of authority if they're in charge of taking command of a scene, whatever that scene might be, whatever that emergency might be, and being able to direct people very quickly to get things done very quickly, because sometimes safety or time is of the essence, and people's safety and lives and things like that could potentially be at risk. So being able to direct people very quickly, or even some organizations and governmental organizations that deal in emergency management, that command and authority structure works very well in order to help you and aid you in actually making timely decisions. If you think about influence, though, influence you can have regardless of your position within the organization, and you have to be able to have influence, whether it's up the ladder, down the ladder, side to side. You can actually have that influence regardless of your position or the authority that your position has. And people that understand influence are actually the ones that stand out as the ones with the stronger leadership ability. And typically they might be the ones that move up quicker in the organization or quicker in their careers than when others might not. But influence is about building trust. And how do we build trust? We build trust by, one, being true to our word, living what we say we're going to do, talking the talk, walking the walk, setting the example, and being consistent with that day in, day out, and actually showing others how we should act in those type of positions, in the influential positions. And by doing that day after day and that consistency and following through, we build trust with our teams. And over time, as that trust is built, then it becomes easier to influence the organization and others within the organization, your team, and actually to get that commitment and the buy-in. Because if they see that you believe in it and that you're executing and you're really moving forward with these things, then more than likely they're actually going to step up and they're going to want to move forward with things too and have that same level of commitment. So you're creating buy-in through your own actions. And whenever you're actually able to get things done via your influence versus your authority, it makes things a lot better for you. It makes things a lot better for the organization. Because if you rely on authority a lot, and you'll see people that don't have those skills or haven't developed the skills yet to build trust or build that following or that commitment, they rely on authority, and that's basically ordering people to do things, do this, do that, with no buy-in whatsoever. Eventually you hit a wall, and either people will not want to work for you anymore, or whenever they do work for you, they're going to give the minimal. They're basically going to do what you ask them to do, and that's it. They're not going to go above and beyond. But when you have that commitment and you've built that, people are going to want to go above and beyond what you've asked them to do because you've set the standard. They're going to want to follow in and actually set that standard as well. And people that have done this really well, I've seen it in action, and it is incredible the amount of things that they can achieve with a small team or limited skills on the team, because they'll go and find those skills. They'll bring them into the team. And people that I've seen it the other side too, where people that rely solely on authority and very directive with their team, and seeing how that can actually, it can get things done very quickly in a short span, but in the long term, it's ineffective. And so you have to decide when is the best instance to get things done, or when is the best instance to employ one tactic over the other. And even though, for example, I might rely on my influence to get things done and building that trust with the team, sometimes there's certain people on the team that I have to be more directive with in certain situations. If they feel really strongly negatively about not doing something, well, first it's understand, well, why don't you want to do it? What's the drawbacks? And you have to decide, is it legitimate or not? And if it's not, sometimes you have to say, look, you don't like it, but you're going to have to do it. It's a part of your job. It needs to be done. And being straightforward, and you can maybe take a pause sometimes and explain to them why it has to be done, why we still need to move ahead with this. And if they understand that, sometimes they still might not like it, but they'll go ahead with it. And sometimes too, you get people with personalities, they might not have the emotional intelligence to recognize when they have to be, mature, professionally mature to do things. And so you have to use your authority. Or someone who's potentially early career, sometimes it's easier to give them tasks to do. And as they start to develop, you slowly move away from that authoritative directive type into more of an influential guiding, mentoring role. So you really have to take individuals based off their own emotional intelligence levels, their own task levels, what is their professional maturity, and really learn to balance both of those types. But there's sometimes you'll exercise authority, like I said earlier, just in your day-to-day stuff, when approving different actions and stuff within the organization. That's where you're exercising your authority. And with that, I always say, if you're delegating authority, go one level down from where you feel comfortable, and then that's where you need to be. So where you feel comfort, go one more level down, and that's where you're actually delegating the authority down to the correct levels. And by delegating authority down to the lowest levels possible, we're actually developing others to exercise that authority, so that whenever they do get promoted up through the ranks or through the organization, they actually understand, one, the responsibilities that come with exercising that authority and the power of it too. And you can use some of those things to explain to them how, look, whenever you're in certain positions of authority, people don't feel like they have the right to tell you no whenever you say things. So you have to develop that trust so that they can tell you no. Because when you come to them with something, they go, well, this person holds my career in their hands. So if I tell them no, they can make my life hell, or they can actually terminate my employment. But sometimes them saying no, they're allowed to. And they're allowed to tell you why they don't want to do something or why they don't agree with something. And that's okay, because we all have different perspectives, we all have different opinions, but we can always come together in the middle to work things out. But by building that trust and that commitment with the team, and they feel like they can tell you no because they know that you're not going to immediately terminate their employment because they said no to you. I'd say whenever you have it to that point, then you've developed a great team. So I'd really like to get your thoughts on this subject. Like I said, it was another listener that asked me the question, can we delve into them a little bit deeper? And more than happy to do that. But what are your thoughts? What are your perspectives? Let me know, and be more than happy to talk about it again. Thank you very much. Talk to you again soon.